From the Journal of Winfield, Scott Ebey, August 24, 1854. 2 miles brought us to the scene of the late fight. Everything showed signs of a hard struggle. 6 bodies lay by the road partly covered, by persons who had been by before. We got our spades, and some of us stopped and gave them a decent burial. The ground is covered with blood. The tent poles and a great amount of half-burnt feathers lay around. No wagons are left. I picked up a hat with 2 bullet holes in it, and it was saturated with blood. I presume the owner received the ball in his head. A gun barrel was picked up. The stock was broke off, and it was badly bent. I have no doubt it was used by some man who was struggling desperately for life. After burying the dead, I put up a notice to those coming behind to be on their guard, and overlooked the wagons. Every man now goes armed. Even the drivers carry their rifles in one hand and their whip in the other. August 25, 1854. I have learned more of the difficulty with the Indians. It seems the wagon train stopped for lunch when the approximately 60 or so Indians came up. They were apparently friendly. One of the Indians took off with a horse of the party's. The owners kept 2 ponies. The Indians brought back the horse and got his ponies. One of the men, who was a short distance from the wagons observing the movement of the Indians, saw one of them point his gun at him, and supposing he intended to shoot him, took out his revolver and shot the Indian down. The fight then commenced in good earnest. Some of the men became frightened, and I believe that, but only of them did any fighting. A young man by the name of Mulligan, from the southern part of Missouri, fought them to the last. It was him that broke up his rifle fighting. It is thought that if all the men had stood up to the Indians, they would have driven the Indians off. Some of the men even crawled into the wagons. The Indians followed them up, killing all but the women and children. About this time, 7 men of Mr. Yante's train were coming back from the fort to look for a lost cow. They were in sight of the fight, when Indians then ran to the river about a mile off, taking the women and children and some of the wagons, and hid in the bushes. The man followed after them, and a firefight was kept up for some time, the whites with revolvers and the Indians with HB muskets. Finally, the foremost man of the whites was shot dead, and the party retreated to the fort for more help. Here was their error. Had they charged the Indians in the bushes, they might have saved the women and children, but would probably have lost some of their own number. They could hear the screams of captives in the bushes when they left. On their return, it was found that the Indians had burned the wagons and had also burned up the children. Their bones were found on the spot. It is hoped they killed them before they committed them to the flames. The men think otherwise, and believe from the screams they heard that the children were burned alive before their mother's eyes. The women, Mrs. Ward and daughter, were murdered and their bodies horribly violated. This is one of the most horrible massacres of which I have ever heard. A whole train of people killed in open day for plunder, and the Indians all escaping. Some 60 head of cattle and $2,000 in gold was carried off. I presume the Indians are now far enough away and safe from pursuit.